Hi everyone, welcome back to Winnie the Pooh. We have another long chapter today in which Piglet is entirely surrounded by water. So I'm going to read this in two parts. I'll read the first part today and then finish the chapter up on Monday. You have to wait the weekend. Something to look forward to. All right, sit back, open those imaginations and those ears up. Get comfortable. I'm going to turn this so you guys can see any pictures. No pictures right now. All right. It rained and it rained and it rained. Sounds like what we went through a few days ago. Piglet told himself that never in all his life, and he was goodness knows how old? 3? Was it? Or 4? Never had he seen so much rain. Days and days and days. If only, he thought as he looked out of the window, I had been in Pooh's house or Christopher Robin's house or Rabbit's house when it began to rain. Then I should have had company all this time instead of being here all alone with nothing to do except wonder when it will stop. And he imagined himself with Pooh saying, "Did you ever see such rain, Pooh?" And Pooh saying, "Isn't it awful, Piglet?" And Piglet saying, "I wonder how it is over Christopher Robin's way." And Pooh saying, "I should think poor old Rabbit is about flooded out by this time." It would have been jolly to talk like this, and really, it wasn't much good having anything exciting like floods if you couldn't share them with somebody. For it was rather exciting. The little dry ditches in which Piglet had nosed about so often had become streams, and the little streams across which he had splashed were rivers, and the river between whose steep banks they had played so happily had sprawled out of its own bed and was taking up so much room everywhere that Piglet was beginning to wonder whether it would be coming into his bed soon. "It's a little anxious," he said to himself, "to be a very small animal entirely surrounded by water. Christopher Robin and Pooh could escape by climbing trees, and Kanga could escape by jumping, and Rabbit could escape by burrowing, and Owl could escape by flying, and Eeyore could escape by making a loud noise until rescued. And here am I, surrounded by water, and I can't do anything." It went on raining, and every day the water got a little higher, until now it was nearly up to Piglet's window. And still he hadn't done anything. "There's Pooh," he thought to himself. "Pooh hasn't much brain, but he never comes to any harm. He does silly things and they turn out all right. There's Owl. Owl hasn't got brain, but he knows things. He would know the right thing to do when surrounded by water. There's Rabbit. He hasn't learnt in books, but he can always think of a clever plan. There's Kanga. She isn't clever, Kanga isn't, but she would be so anxious about Roo that she would do a good thing to do. She would do a good thing to do without thinking about it. And then there's Eeyore, and Eeyore is so miserable anyhow that he wouldn't mind about this. But I wonder what Christopher Robin would do." Then suddenly he remembered a story which Christopher Robin had told him about a man on a desert island who had written something in a bottle and thrown it in the sea. And Piglet thought that he wrote something in a bottle and threw it in the water. Perhaps somebody would come and rescue him. He left the window and began to search his house, all of it that wasn't underwater, and at last he found a pencil and a small piece of dry paper and a bottle with a cork to it. And he wrote on one side of the paper, "Help! Piglet! Me!" And on the other side, "It's me, Piglet! Help! Help!" Then he put the paper in the bottle and corked the bottle up as tightly as he could, and he leaned out of the window as far as he could lean without falling in, and he threw the bottle as far as he could throw, splash, and in a little while it bobbed up again on the water, and he watched it floating slowly away in the distance until his eyes ached with looking. Sometimes he thought it was the bottle, and sometimes he thought it was just a ripple in the water which he was following, and then suddenly he knew that he would never see it again, and that he had done all that he could do to save himself. So there's poor Piglet in his house. Look how high the water is. There he is throwing the bottle. So now he thought, somebody else will have to do something, and I hope they will do it soon, because if they don't, I shall have to swim, which I can't. So I hope they do it soon. And then he gave a very long sigh. Said, "I wish Pooh were here. It's so much more friendly with two." When the rain began, Pooh was asleep. It rained, and it rained, and it rained, and he slept, and he slept, and he slept. He had had a tiring day. You remember how he discovered the North Pole. Well, he was so proud of this that he asked Christopher Robin if there were any other poles, such as a bear of little brain might discover. "There's a South Pole," said Christopher Robin, "and I expect there's an East Pole and a West Pole, though people don't like talking about them." Pooh was very excited when he heard this and suggested that they should have an expedition to discover the East Pole. But Christopher Robin had thought of something else to do with Kanga, so Pooh went out to discover the East Pole by himself. Whether he discovered it or not, I forget, but he was so tired when he got home that in the very middle of his supper, after he had been eating for a little more than half an hour, he fell fast asleep in his chair and slept and slept and slept. Then suddenly he was dreaming. He was at the East Pole, and was a very cold pole with the coldest sort of snow and ice all over it. He had found a beehive to sleep in, but there wasn't room for his legs, so he had left them outside. And wild woozles, such as inhabit the East Pole, came and nibbled all the fur off his legs to make nests for their young. And the more they nibbled, the colder his legs got, until suddenly he woke up with an "Ow!" And there he was, sitting in his chair with his feet in the water, and the water all around him. He splashed to his door and looked out. "This is serious," said Pooh. I must have an escape." So he took his largest pot of honey and escaped with it to a broad branch of his tree, well above the water, and then he climbed down again and escaped with another pot. And when the whole escape was finished, there was Pooh, sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him were 10 pots of honey. All right, we're going to stop with Pooh sitting with all his pots of honey as the water gets higher and higher, and we'll see what happens on Monday. Oh, no, actually, it'll be on Tuesday because Monday is Memorial Day, so we have Monday off. All right, friends, take care. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.